Yo, what is up, y'all? It's kind of 50% of your Vols ATB crew here. Me, Brando, and Drew here going with another episode of Hard Knocks UT. Lowe's out there trying to secure a sponsorship bag. Alex is out there still trying to be a doctor. So me and Drew are kind of going to out here try to secure the brand for a week and get us kind of by. Drew, a lot to talk about in this week, but first off, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Finally done with the work week, which is quite nice. Gonna have a nice little long weekend and mentally
Oh,
be
yeah.
prepared for next Friday's live kickoff show with Troy Fleming and Jabari Davis. Uh, it's going to be a good one, man. I'm pretty fired up about it. I'm not sure about yourself, but it's definitely going to be entertaining to say the very least.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, first off, Wednesday, getting a long weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 4-day weekend. Can't
Mm-hmm.
complain there. Obviously, the live show next Friday. I don't think we're doing a show on Wednesday, but obviously, live in person, Skybox Bar and Grill, August 19th, my 22nd. I know it's like the first time the full crew is going to be together in person. And we're also having Juice Davis, Jabari Davis, and Troy Fleming, two VFLs. Cannot complain. Obviously, a Friday night in Knoxville. Going to be rough, going to be rowdy, but going to be fun. Kicking down the season. I think when we get to there, it'll only be 13 days until game time. So we'll be back all together, or me and you will be back in Neyland 2 weeks after that. So super excited for that and everything coming with it, getting everything set up. And obviously want everyone to come out there. We're going to drop the address and promote it more and more as this next week goes on. But super, super excited for that first in-person event. I know I got a lot of people excited for it. So definitely looking forward to meeting y'all. Drew, going to the football field, a lot of activity, obviously everyone's favorite time of the year. We've been blessed to have a basketball and baseball program that's been successful, but now we're in the football season, the final countdown, fall practice, Josh Heupel year 2. A lot of good notes coming out. Obviously some concerns. Kamal Hayden on the defensive side, he hasn't practiced in 4 or 5 days. He's reaffirmed on social media that he's fine. They also had Brew McCoy, wide receiver transfer from USC, and Jalen Wright, sideline, getting sideline work, participating in solo drills, but nothing really in game. It sounds like with those 3 guys, they're kind of trusting the process and being safe with it, kind of, letting them get ready for the season. Like if they're rusty, they're rusty. But by the time Florida and the SEC play comes in, they're going to get the bang for their buck and try to, get them as healthy as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, for the good part, though, everyone's shining. I don't know about you, but I had a few names. Jalen Hyatt, obviously the true freshman on the offensive side. Dylan Sampson having a crazy highlight with running the ball. Sounds like he's going to get a lot more touches. Ramel Keaton stepping up. And then having guys like Walker Merrill, Jimmy Callaway, and some more stepping up. On the offensive side, what's been your biggest takeaway going into that?
I think it's definitely Dylan Sampson. I think everyone got really excited about Justin William Thomas, as deservedly so, after his spring practice and, Jalen Dixon coming in. But, man, Dylan Sampson has really he has took a huge step over the last 2 or 3 weeks over here in fall camp. Grab a couple touchdowns during the scrimmage as well. And, he's mostly sharing the twos, number 2 spot behind Jabari with Justin William Thomas as well. And so, I think he's definitely a guy where you're going to he's going to have some production for you this year. He's going to be sharing. All four of those guys at running back with Jalen Wright, Justin William Thomas, Lynn Dixon. Once Lynn gets used to the system, of course, and Dylan Sampson, they're all going to be sharing the ball, and it's just nice, and it's just a great refresher for once. So we actually have some quality depth behind the running back position, because I think it's been a very, very long time since we've had that. But, it wouldn't surprise me in the very least, though, that with his, 22.5-mile-an-hour speed, if you see him at kickoff returns as well. So I think regardless, the kid's going to be getting a lot of playing time this year, whether if it's special teams, in the offense, anything like that. But, also another big key for me was, Jeremy Banks has taken even another big step as well. He actually had an interception over, a pickoff, Hendon Hooker. And it wasn't necessarily as a back row from Hooker, but it was just an unbelievable play from Jeremy Banks. So just to see that linebacker room just stay healthy with Juwan Mitchell as well, and they're taking that extra step, and Juwan Mitchell on top of that is carving in as a unique role. This couldn't be a better fall camp, I think, for Tennessee fans have wanted.
Yeah, to touch on your offensive notes, Dylan Sampson kind of, under the radar recruit. Obviously, Justin Williams Thomas, like you said, came in later, and everyone kind of took advantage of that. Didn't kind of look at the 3-star from Baton Rouge who's taken off. He broke Eddie Lacy's record out there for a reason, in my opinion. Came in, obviously has speed, didn't really have weight, but it looks like he has the mindset. He's put on some solid mass on there. He's looking in the field like he belongs, learning the pass protection at a younger side. Also, Lindsey Dixon, Coach Heupel saying that he's fully eligible to go, so that's really big news. And then it also sounds like Justin Williams-Thomas is getting down with the pass protection. But, Jabari Small sounding like he's a clear running back one, looking great in practice. Jason Swain even kind of tweeting out saying that Jabari Small is him. That's all y'all need to know. Had a good solid 20-25 reps. And then Dylan Sampson coming in there and, getting along. That running back room, like you said, it's stacked. Pinning to the defense, Jeremy Banks, he's finally getting, along, learning that defensive side of the ball, like leading the defense, being that alpha guy, being able to jump a pass like that on Hendon Hooker. I don't think it was a bad pass. Like you said, that's just Jeremy Banks adapting. And even Heupel, gave him the credit from the start of the press conference the other day, was saying how good Jeremy Banks has adapted. Also, having guys on the younger side, James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, I'm still thinking those guys are going to be major contributors, not like huge starters, but maybe like 15, 20 solid plays a game. Guys like that and Tyree West that are coming in as true freshmen, kind of shining strong on there. Then you got the guys that are kind of leading the way with Jeremy Banks at the DBs. You got a young guy like Christian Charles who's been shining. You got the Alabama transfer from last year that shined out, Brandon Turnage, who's making his mark on the DB field, sounding like a true leader out there. So it's all looking nice on the defense. If everything can get carved up there, I think we're most deep. I can't believe I'm saying it, at the DB position now this year. And we still got some guys kind of banged up out there, but you have a leader like Trayvon Flowers out there. I look at the linebacker room, the D-line room, more interior and, being able to stop the run going into the season from a quarterback last year, that being our huge problem. I'm hoping that kind of this year in practice, being able to stop the run and people taking advantage of our tempo has been like one of the bigger keys. But all in all, it looks like the notes coming out. It's great to see defensive notes from such an offensive heavy team that just usually talks about offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one big thing, though, is just the fact that, even Ronnie Gardner mentioned that Joshua Josephs and James Pierce are two type of guys where he could see them in, big key third down situations, have them out in the field. The fact that someone like Rodney Gardner himself is one of the best defensive line coaches in the country and has been for the last 20, 25 years, for him to come out and say that already, especially when we have Tyler Barron and Byron Young already on that D-line, I think it speaks volumes. And I think it's huge, though, because you got to remember, last year we had about 7 or 8 guys on defense that played over 700, that played 600 to 700 snaps, which is insane. Most of them were starters like Matthew Butler and a couple others. But, like, the fact that we finally have some quality depth in those key positions, like defensive back, which if you had told me that 2.5, 3 months ago, I would have called you a lunatic. But, now DB and now D-line, that's huge. And I think this is going to be the huge key for Heupel and his staff to take that next step for Tennessee, quite frankly, to get the respect that, it needs, it deserves as a program. So, great fall camp. Most important thing, though, is no one's gotten injured yet. Knock on wood. Thanks. No one's gotten injured yet from the scrimmage. And, the Kamal Hayden, Bree McCoys, they're just taking precautionaries. It's good. Another big note, which I was surprised you kind of left this out, was that Christian Charles got off that red jersey and he's back.
Oh, yeah, facts. He's back to full contact now, which is huge.
I'm telling you, I think if there's one guy in that secondary besides Theo Jackson that's going to ball out for us, it's Christian Charles. He is a natural safety, I think, or a natural secondary, defensive back. He's taken huge strides over the last 3 or 4 months in spring practice, and I think he's going to be your starter, by Ball State. I really do.
Yeah, I'm going to first correct you. I don't know who you meant, but you said Theo Jackson. Theo Jackson's in the NFL for the Tennessee Titans.
Flowers.
Trayvon Flowers. Okay, that makes more sense.
It's kind of hard getting mixed up.
Yeah, no, for sure. Trayvon Flowers is all in all a great leader for the defense. I preach about that guy coming back this year, and I think he's set for a great year as well. But having a guy like Christian Charles, who once, flashed last year early as a true freshman, but this year kind of, getting used to everything, fully healthy, got banged up early this year, but got out the red jersey, like you said. I think he's going to be a huge contributor. Along with Brandon Turnage, and also wanted to give credit to Wesley Walker and Andre Turrentine. Sounds like they're making a huge impact and going to have their kind of part to play in the defense as well. Sounds like Wesley's kind of taking that Theo Jackson role. So to bring the whole Theo Jackson thing back to relevance, Wesley Walker might be our new Theo Jackson. But like you said, knock on wood, no injuries yet. And the ones that have kind of been out, out of precautionary reason, Brew McCoy, Jalen Wright, everything else there. Obviously, got to worry about Brew McCoy getting eligible. It sounds like that's on the way. It's not. I've heard it's not an NCAA thing anymore. It's more of a USC signing the papers and getting him here before the season starts. And if that's all it is, I don't see any reason why the new regime over there at USC would be petty enough not to sign it. So I fully expect him to be ready and probably eligible by the next week or two. All in all, a huge part for there. Kind of leading on with the Tennessee offense, Drew. The news, 24/7 kind of dropped their little thing, putting a prediction out today. Tennessee is projected to have the number 2 offense this year, according to 24/7 sports analyst Brad Crawford, ranking Tennessee number 2 behind Ohio State in his top 10. I think, last year, it was a top 10 offense. Is it kind of crazy, looking at his Heupel's track record of going back and forth? It's always kind of improved. You didn't lose anyone on offense on paper, kind of gained in the running back room, kind of fixed the hole you lost in Tyon Evans, got someone else on the other side of Cedric Tillman, fixing the, Javonte Payton and Velus Jones. You rebuilt that offense, should go out there and put on numbers, but number 2 in the country, do you think that's possible?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about this is an offense last year where Heupel even said himself, he only really, released about 25% of the playbook, even just the basic fundamentals. And we broke the school record for most points scored in a season and had the number 7th offense in the country with, quite honestly, the third of the depth that we have now, just all around on the offensive side of the ball. So I think this is definitely a team that could be number 2 in the country. My biggest concern, though, is still, honestly, is the offensive line. Just, the lack of depth there is a little bit concerning. We still don't really have a true left tackle.
Yeah,
Gerald Mincy will probably, get some playing time, but that's still a very big concern. But, I mean, as fast as this offense is and, as quick as we play, it might not even be that much of a factor. It really wasn't even last year. So, and when you considering the fact, sure, we lost Velus Jones, but you got Jalen Hyatt, who everyone has said has been the best player on offense through spring practice and fall camp so far. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, you got new guys coming in like Squirrel White and Brew McCoy, who add that speed and just the talent in general to be able to, stand out on top of Cedric Tillman. I mean, there's no reason not to think that this offense can't be the best in the SEC. I don't think it'll be good as Ohio State's because Ohio State's offense is stupid.
Yeah, it's going to be
stupid.
As
far as talent goes, I think if there's going to be any team that honestly that could beat Alabama in a national championship this year, it's most definitely
Ohio State. Yeah. So if Ohio State doesn't win it this year, it's down here.
Yeah, and I hate to say that because I fucking hate Ohio State with passion.
Me too. But respectfully.
But yeah, I don't see why not. This team can't be number 2. Number 2 offensively in the rankings, and if you get more of that playbook and different schemes as well, I mean. We ran the same 5 plays, it seemed like, all of last year, and we still averaged 45 points a game. So, yeah, I mean, I think easily, worst case scenario would be a number 4, the 4th or 5th best offense in the country. Buddy, you're muted.
No, I was saying like the scripted plays we'd start games out with, going back to back like that. That's definitely something, I definitely – with opening the playbook, I definitely see it as a possibility to go out there and score more points. Obviously, on paper, you did lose a few people, filled the gaps, and then, like you said, with the true freshmen coming in, Dylan Sampson, Squirrel White, Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod, all, respectfully kind of filling in, and they can give you like a couple plays. You have more guys step up, like, Jalen Hyatt, Walker Merrill, Ramel Keaton, Brew McCoy. That's going to be, tremendous. I'm glad you mentioned the offensive line part. We left that part out of the fall camp scrimmage. No, there's still no true offensive line starter. Heupel in his press conference was kind of like, even though if we do have a starter, whoever does come out as a starter, like we're going to need both of these guys because the bodies on the offensive line is kind of short right now. Obviously getting the Gerald Mincy transfer in last year, Jeremiah Crawford from 2 years ago, Heupel's year 1, but he came in playing off a full JUCO year. So this is like his first real training camp with Tennessee. So giving credit and seeing that come out from JUCO. Obviously, Heupel liked him a lot to take him early there. It's going to be interesting to see which one kind of gets the starting nod and solidifies that group. But, I'm worried, just offensively, just penalties. I think offensive line, a lot of last year, false starts. I know it comes with the tempo part of everything, but that's obviously just going to be coming with it. But all in all, those big chunk plays that we get, it's going to help us score quick. And I don't see a reason why we shouldn't be at least a top 5, and I could easily see a number 2 if we go like 9-3, 10-2, and win out the games we're supposed to. But when I look at the team like number 3, like it's kind of sad to see. Like they had Wake Forest number 3 on here. Obviously, the news today, they lost their quarterback. And then all in all, they had number 4, Alabama, who lost one of their star receivers, JoJo, early today due to injury. And then also our rivals, Florida, losing their transfer receiver from Arizona State to injury for a certain amount of time. Not really sure if it's going to be long-term or what. But, Drew, you had some more notes on those guys.
Yeah, so as far as Alabama goes, they lost JoJo early for about 6 to 8 weeks with a foot fracture. This is the second year in a row where he's had a lower body injury. He actually had a leg injury to start off during fall camp and wound up missing 3 games too. But, he played 10 games last year, had a couple hundred yards as far as, receiving yards go, but he was competing for a slot starting role this year, considering that Alabama lost all 3 of their wide receiver starters to the draft and for graduation as well. So it's a tough break for them, but it's Alabama, man. They just reload. So, he'll probably go back out there. With our luck, he's going to come back for the Tennessee game and fucking ball out against us. But, he'll be at least back out for a little bit. And, it may help us and may not, all depending. But the Florida loss, though, Florida losing Ricky Pierce. How do you say his last name? Parsley,
probably, yeah.
Ricky Parsley from Arizona State. That is probably the worst thing that could possibly happen to them. And the reasons for that is because, they've already lost Jacob Copeland and Keymore Gamble in the offseason this year. And Parsley was the guy that's kind of like, that was supposed to fill in that gap of losing those 2 stars because he was, a starter at Arizona State as well. But with him being out indefinite and the fact that the Florida media is actually being pretty hush about it, makes me think this is like a pretty serious injury. Because if it was something like a fractured foot where it was only a few weeks, they would have already announced that by now. This makes me think that this could potentially be something that's at least miss over half the season. But when you look at their wide receiver room right now, I'm just going to read you off the 3 top guys that they have, and you're
it's pretty bad, bro.
It's terrible. The first one was Justin Shorter. Okay, for those who don't know about Justin Shorter, he was a transfer from Penn State after the 2020 season. He was a 4-star recruit, decent recruit coming out of high school, but never really got his opportunity at Penn State. Came to Florida. Last year, he only caught basically out of the returning wide receivers now, led the team with 41 catches, 550 yards, and 3 touchdowns, which is for a backup, for your number 2 guy your number 3, that's decent. That's pretty good. But then it gets even worse after that. Then you get Xavier Henderson, who's only had 22 catches, 227 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year. That's their number 2 now. That's their wide receiver 2. And then their wide receiver number 3, Trent Whittemore, had 19 catches for 210 yards and 1 touchdown. And here's the mind-blowing stat, though. Florida has 18 wide receivers listed on their roster. Not a single one played more than 6 games last year.
Yikes.
6. And this is their wide receiver room. And you'll get me any day of the week about the Florida rant. I already know this. It's tradition now to have me mention about the Florida game. But even I, after reading this, it's like, surely God, we can't, we don't lose to this team. Because this is like 2010 Derek Dooley Tennessee bad as far as wide receiver depth goes. This might be the worst wide receiver room I've ever seen for any Power 5 team. Even including Vanderbilt. And so their situation is a whole lot worse than us. And then you got on top of that Anthony Richardson coming in as their quarterback, which I know he's already
unproven,
but he's unproven. He might be a baller. He was a highly touted recruit, but man, it is extremely unfortunate to see Florida just crumbling and potentially being the same spot that we've been in for the last 15 years. So really unfortunate. Really hate it for them. Really, really do. But it cannot be any better timing for us, though. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, facts. I've been preaching, on the show the last couple of weeks, every time we get to this Florida topic being a sensitive topic for the show, about how their depth this year is like how we've been like the last 5 to 10 years of never being able to reload after having to, rebuild and rebuild and rebuild. Well, now, you look at their skill positions and you think of Florida and you think of the Gators and you think of like their running backs, an athletic quarterback, wide receivers, their tight ends. You look at that roster now, that depth there now, and you just mentioned even with the Arizona State transfer, I wasn't really too worried about their wide receiver room just going into that. But when you read off that none of them even played, not even a full season, but not even half the season, 6 games, at most 2 or 3 touchdowns, guys that are unproven coming into an away territory game. Yeah, they get started early, tough against Utah, Kentucky, and I think one more opponent. I forgot the other one off the top of my head. But when you come into Neyland Stadium, like our defense, and you're talking about our DBs, I'm not worried about wide receivers. I'm worried about like their running game. And I just, that's kind of been mainly quiet, but I imagine it'll be like a lot of read option of them trying to beat us on their feet, AR-15, trying to see if they can exploit that run advantage with the quarterback on our defense. But I fully think that Tennessee, like their first and second defense of being able to reload and, substitute out this year compared to last year, there's no reason when Florida comes to Neyland that we shouldn't be able to go out there and exhaust them, put up points in their head.
I mean, I agree, but
we should go out here and like be up like 28-7 first quarter.
But I'm not going to say that. That's just ridiculous.
We had okay. That's not a crazy statement though, because you have to understand last year we had the biggest first point differential in the nation. We were out here blowing out teams like we were up 28-7 on Purdue.
Okay, all right, but even then though, we only still scored like 7 against them in the first.
Shane Beamer came into Knoxville, and we put up 35 in the first quarter.
Okay, all right. Well, South Carolina, first of all, is much worse than Florida. Okay,
they beat Florida last year. Dan Mullen.
It doesn't matter. Florida still beat us, and they nearly beat Alabama. I mean, those first 4 weeks, Florida was one of the best teams in the country. You can even argue that.
No, that's not cap.
That whatever you can say.
That's a factual statement.
Cap.
Yeah.
That is cap. For the first 4 weeks, Florida was arguably a top 5 team. They really were. I mean, you can't even argue that.
Means fake, so that's not cap. Like you're right when you say that is what I meant. Drew.
Okay, all right.
Education.
How about you just say you're right? All right, like we need to quit. I don't know what this lingo even means. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think a lot of Vol Nation know what this lingo means either.
But no, I mean the only thing that kind of that gets me a little bit nervous about Florida. I mean, I'm still going to pencil as a loss.
It wouldn't be Drew without being scared of Florida.
I'm still going to pencil as a loss, of course. But one thing that really does concern me though is even though Anthony Richardson's unproven, the guy's still a hell of an athlete, and he's quick. My biggest fear is him being able to escape the pocket and then just be able to create plays. Because we seem to have this luck where guys from Florida that have, like, you never even heard of, that never done anything, have managed to be able just to have, like, a career performance against us. Whether it feels like Emory Jones or Jeff Driscoll or, like, any of these guys. So –
oh, brother, he's 100% rushing for more than 100 yards on us. You have to understand, like, when I think that we're going to beat these teams, I don't think we're just going to go out here and blow them out. Like, I understand where our defense is at compared to what our offense makes our defense have to play at, with how fast we go and the tempo of being out there drive after drive, like not even 30, 40 seconds later sometimes. Like, they're going to score points. They're going to get down the field on us, even if it makes us look awful.
No, they are, though. But the biggest problem, though, is that we couldn't score for shit in the second quarter. In fact, I think we actually almost gave up, and like even with the exception of a couple games like Tennessee Tech and South Alabama and South Carolina.
That was with a lot of games though.
But in all those losses, though, we would jump off to a really early lead by 2 or 3 touchdowns, and then we would manage to blow it though by the end of the first half. And that is where my fear is that we jump off to a 24-3 lead in the first quarter, and then we have like 2-3 and outs. And then all of a sudden, Florida's back in this game and it's tied at halftime. And then they have all the momentum on their side.
Nah, bro. Billy Napier and Cookeville, Tennessee native Billy Napier is not coming in down 24-3 first year of Florida with all that lack of that offensive talent. There's no shot.
Dude, we lost to fucking Will Muschamp. We couldn't beat Will Muschamp, and he was a way worse coach than Billy Napier. At least Billy Napier did something at I
just feel like early on like that, if he say he does get lucky and gets hot early, like say Utah comes to Florida and gets swamped and Florida wins and they start off hot 3-0 and both teams are undefeated when they come to Neyland, if we go up 24-3 on them, like I just feel like that's kind of like a gunshot.
Yes, but no. Because we've seen in years past in big games where we've gotten off to a really early lead and dominated for the first half or the first, 30 minutes of the first 45 minutes of the game and blew at the end. I mean, the Oklahoma game was a perfect example of that. So,
not Josh Heupel, but
Josh Heupel. I mean, he wasn't even on the
Tennessee, I guess, yeah.
But with even the Ole Miss game, though, I mean, we struggled offensively in the second quarter. That's my biggest thing. And same with Pittsburgh as well. Pittsburgh, we should have won that game. We struggled tremendously in the second quarter. And even past, Joe Milton's overthrows, we still struggled offensively.
Yeah.
And that's where Heupel and this staff needs to, capitalize more than anything else. That will differentiate this team from being an 8-4 to a 10-2 team. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the offensive penalties, red zones, third down offense, third down defense. There's a lot of things that cost us not being able to stay on the field, not being able to get off the field. Probably like 7 or 10 plays that made or break. Going 7-5 to going 9-3. I mean, we saw what happened from the Pitt game, the Ole Miss game, so on and so on. Obviously, there's games on the table. Tennessee this year, I think you definitely have to go into Pitt and beat Pitt. Already saw them multiple times at UCF, saw them last year have more talent. This year they lost all theirs. I think that's definitely a game you have to go in there and do it. But obviously, like you said, it starts with being able to clean things up on offense and going out there and putting up consistent points because defense, yeah, we added to that DD room, but that doesn't change the quarterback if they're mobile enough. Even if they're not mobile, we saw statues out there running on us last year. So I mean, obviously, just have to see how how Tim Banks and the defense is kind of going to game plan for that. There's got to be a fix. I definitely think there has to be a fix for them to talk about it all offseason. There's no way they're going to stroll in their year two and talk about, wanting to win games and the stats don't matter and stuff like that without wanting to clean stuff like that up. Like they know what happened last year. So I definitely expect all in all, just, going to be cleaned up.
No, I mean, I definitely expect improvements for sure. And I still have faith with Tim Banks and this, on the defensive staff as well. But here's the thing, dude. If we still see the same issues where we can't get off the field, after third down or stupid penalties and stuff like that, there's going to have to be some questions that have to be answered with this defensive staff. And and I'm not advocating for anyone to be fired right now by any stretch.
Oh, yeah, no shot.
But if there's no improvement in those two things, especially because that was our freaking, kryptonite was third down and, self-imposing penalties. So whether if it was, pass interference or face mask and stuff like that, we can't address those. They don't actually improve those. And I know they talked about all season. Yeah. We got changes. Simple as that. But
yeah, for sure.
I still got trust and faith in Tim Banks, and Rodney Gardner and the entire defense staff that they'll be able to address it. But man, Florida's got me stressed out already. I'm not even stressed out about Pitt now. I'm just stressed out about this Florida game more than anything else.
Oh, yeah, I know you are. And I know, we're talking about this all right now and getting fired up about this now. But next week, live show, Skybox Bar and Grill, the full crew. You and Lo have met in person. Obviously, me and Alex going to be around. I know we're doing the full season prediction kind of thing. I know we're going to get the first 3 games out the way. And then it's going to get to Florida. It's going to be a sensitive topic on Brando's 22nd birthday in the Skybox Bar. And Drew's probably going to get all Farragut furious, redneck, angry, pissed off.
Facts.
But, obviously just once again, really hyped for that. I'm pretty sure we're doing that whole best dressed thing. If you come best dressed in Vols attire to Skybox Bar and Grill for the show, you can win a $70 gift card. Or hold on, let me see. Yeah, $70 ticket to Dine in the Dark event at Skybox, which is super lit. Obviously, the environment at Skybox, one of a kind. Pleasure to be able to be allowed to go out there and do our full show there. So obviously, really excited for that. Meeting Juice Davis and Troy Fleming for the first time. That's going to be pretty cool. Two VFLs.
2 former Vols, played under Fulmer, during a really good time during Tennessee's program.
The Gator Killer himself. Absolutely. Drew, you can't freeze about Florida in front of the Gator Killer.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You'll do it?
It's going to happen. Here's the thing. I don't care if people are going to boo me. Quite frankly, I want the boos. I want
the boos in your hometown, in a hometown bar. No shots.
don't care, because I'm being a realist here. Okay, even though everything on paper tells me otherwise, I'm still going with my gut feeling on this game. So, but it's going to be an incredible atmosphere at Skybox. Perfect place to start your Friday night. You know, great drinks, great food, good wings, good nachos. 7 to 8:30. It's going to be a good time. Even a little bit of karaoke afterwards. If you get me and Brando a little too lit, we might have to do it. We might have to do karaoke. So, but yeah, I mean, you're going to be able to meet Juice Davis, Troy Fleming, two, very respectable, great players.
Maybe some other Vols calling in. Depends what we have going on. It just depends. But obviously, Skybox Bar and Grill, Friday 19th, August 19th, 7 to 8:30 Eastern Time. The address, 415 South Gay Street, Knoxville, Tennessee. Obviously, Juice Davis, Troy Fleming. If you catch me on the karaoke, me and Drew singing Rocky Top, I just don't want to see the video after. That's going to be awful. The fact that, my mom's going to have to drive me home and have to work the next day, that's going to be awful as well. But we're going to live for the brand and die for the brand, and I'm super excited for that. So,
no, absolutely. It's going to be a phenomenal time. Definitely, if you're in town or you plan on being in town, make sure to stop by and join us. It's going to be a hell of a time for sure. Brando, we talked about the current Vols and the situation. Let's talk about maybe some potential future Vols that may be joining this class. What do you guys?
Oh my God, Drew, how did I forget about that? Oh my God.
Shocking behavior.
Okay, this is the craziest. Okay, so this week's recruiting, obviously last few weeks, everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on with Tennessee recruiting? There's a standstill. We got Nathan Leacock and everything kind of just chilled out. What's going on? We lost out on Stanton Ramil. We lost out on Lucas Simmons, Francis, so on and so on. Obviously, Tennessee, they've continued to go down their board, kind of go into the DB position. They obviously have Sylvester Smith, Jack Luttrell, John Slaughter, and some others committed right now. Sounds like obviously Tennessee was in on corners, 4-star corners, Ricky Gibson and Jordan Matthews. Ricky Gibson obviously down to Tennessee and Georgia, was crystal ball to Georgia for the longest by Steve Wiltfong, Chad Simmons, and others. Was originally set to announce August 5th, but actually had to postpone his commitment date to the 14th of this week, coming up this week, because his parents had a wedding. So out of respect for his parents, he wanted to go to the wedding, postpone his commitment. Well, in the last week, from being a Georgia lock, this guy, Georgia wants this kid so bad. Like they've been saying, like, if it comes down to it, we're going to let someone else go to take this kid's commitment. He has a full spot in our class, 4-star on 3, blowing up on the trail. Offer list shows it. Absolutely wants to take him on. The last week of his family, having this wedding and his mom and dad or his stepfather getting married, he's flipped his prediction from Steve Wiltfong has been flipped to Tennessee. Sounds like Tennessee's going super hard for him. Obviously, Georgia fans in shambles on the message boards. I saw a couple saying this is what happens when you get NIL involved. I'm here to tell you from my sources, there's no NIL involved. This is just Willie Martinez being a GOAT, like coming out here recruiting late, not, putting the phone down, calling every day. Coach Martinez has a great relationship with this kid. Obviously, Tennessee was one of his first offers. Georgia only offering 3 weeks to go, being his dream school. He got there on a late visit. Sounds like that Tennessee love and lean is kind of coming back there. And then you got Jordan Matthews, 4-star corner from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, set to announce on the 15th, 4-star out of was going to go to Texas, crystal ball to Texas currently. Sounds like Tennessee's getting heavily involved there. He dropped the top 3. Baton Rouge native, Drew. He left LSU out of his top 3, put Michigan in there, a team that's not even really been heavily involved at all. It's kind of a shocker to most people. Sounds like it's kind of going to a Texas-Tennessee thing. All the crystal balls right now point to Texas, but I'm hearing right now like Tennessee's heavily involved more than people think. I would not be surprised to kind of see those things start to flip if Tennessee keeps putting the pressure there. If Tennessee can go in there and get the pressure going, 2 4-star corners to add to this 2023 class with the defense, that would just solidify that DB room going forward. Also, some guys committed elsewhere Tennessee's heavily involved with. 4-star running back Roderick Robertson committed to UCLA. Tennessee's talking there. 4-star offensive lineman Lucas Simmons that committed to Florida State. Tennessee's still heavily involved there. And then also 3-star offensive tackle Bison Lang. Tennessee's talking there as well. So Tennessee, not pumping the brakes going into the season. Obviously, they have a full season of expectations going ahead. The hype train's still rolling off field, though. recruiting heavily. A lot of names to look forward to. And if Tennessee can land those 2 4-stars going into the season, I think, go onto the field, win some games, beat Florida, beat Pitt, win games that, are toss-ups. Obviously, you don't have to beat Georgia and Alabama year 2. That would be crazy if you do. But if you go out there and, like, you beat Florida and beat Pitt like you're supposed to this year, go 8-4, 9-3, I think that makes this class, go from, stand still and getting 4 stars on the regular where people are kind of upset right now to accelerate to how you see a top program like Alabama, Oregon, A&M to go on those hot streaks week after week after week. So a lot of recruiting going on, and the staff's they're not stopping. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I think that Ricky Gibson would be a massive, huge commit if we could be able to pull this off. Everything sounds like from what you've said, and as long as, as well from On3 and 247 that, it's promising for sure. Anytime you're able to get, not just a commitment over Georgia, a recruit over Georgia, but one of their top targets, when you're doing that, especially against the defending national champs, I think that speaks volumes to not only Willie Martinez, but Heupel and this entire staff and the state of program as well, because they're obviously seeing Tennessee at a different outlook than, say, recruits were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago. Honestly. So, and the Jordan Matthews one, it kind of like makes me laugh a little bit considering, for him being from Baton Rouge, is that, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to LSU because he basically said that this was the furthest he could take Notre Dame. You can't recruit there. You can't win, all this stuff. And ironically, it seems like every top in-state recruit in Louisiana is leaving Louisiana to go elsewhere, whether if it's Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, or Texas, or even Ole Miss. And so I love seeing it. Because I hate Notre Dame too, and I hate Brian Kelly, so it's just great seeing him implode on his own in-state talent. LSU is such an easy job to recruit that's like almost astonishing that they're struggling as much as they are. I think Texas will be hard, to fight off against Jordan Matthews. But man, if we get Ricky Gibson, if he commits on the 14th with us, which it sounds like he will, it might change his outlook on that, and that would help tremendously considering, besides Ricky Gibson, Christian Conyer is the only true defensive cornerback that we have that's committed. You got Jack Luttrell and a couple other guys that are safeties, but as far as true DBs, him and, that would add a lot of depth into our, recruiting class for sure. So, it's like I said, we thought it was dead in the water about a month ago, especially after the Francis news. But here we are. It's promising. And I think another name that a lot of people need to watch out for is Tamarian Parker. He just decommitted from Penn State the other day. Former target that Tennessee had, and we always need depth on the edge. It would not surprise me if we try to go after him again since his recruiting is open. So, and he was only committed to Penn State for less than 2 months. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw anything right there. But, yeah, with the Ricky Gibson commit, you're looking at a top 10 recruiting class again. We're already number 11 in the country and easily, a top 4 SEC. So we're back.
Yeah, I guess with the Tamarian Parker news, I guess I'm hearing a lot of like Florida and Georgia buzz there. Obviously, Tennessee recruited him really, really hard. He had like crystal ball coming out of that one visit here, that big, I think, Memorial Day weekend he was involved in. So obviously was here, liked what he saw. Seems like after every visit he went on, he kind of liked that school. But I think all in all, if it goes like deeper into the cycle and maybe like December or May, obviously don't count Rodney Garner out in the end. Obviously, how he is at the finish line. I just, kind of think that Tennessee's kind of, moved on with their board. And once they lose somebody, they're kind of going on, unless it's here recently where they've kind of dipped back on some people right there. But obviously, I'm not calling the Ricky Gibson one a home run yet. Obviously, got to get to the finish line, get him committed, and then all in all, get him signed. But getting him committed would be huge for the class. I still think that Georgia's on him hard. They're going to be calling him every single day. It's going to be a battle of the phones of, trying to get him locked in. But all the Tennessee buzz coming out after the past few weeks, I'm thinking he was a Georgia lock, seeing Steve Wiltfong flip his crystal ball along with Chad Simmons. That was huge. And 2 huge cornerbacks, like you said, 4 stars. I think LSU kind of messed up because you can't, like going back on the Brian Kelly thing, if you're not going to, take a Baton Rouge native, and you're like, I think what I've been hearing is that they told him that they don't have a spot for him yet or whatever it is now, taking another kid from somewhere else. All in all, no matter how you look at it for Brian Kelly, That's kind of bad, not taking in-state recruits like that. Last year chose not to take Dylan Sampson when he first arrived. Like Dylan Sampson wanted to go to LSU, failed to offer him. We got a steal there. If you can get a steal in Jordan Matthews and, get him bought in, and then they try to come back and steal him later, but he stays, low in the process, that would be a huge win there. And then obviously you got to look at the on the field meetup there this season after the Florida game, going to Baton Rouge, playing Brian Kelly in year one. That's going to be a huge game where they lost depth at a lot of pieces, but still have a lot of talent. But I just don't think that down there, saying no in the recruiting process that early to Baton Rouge natives and then going into a year one, like if you have a disaster, that would be like a fall in the face moment for Brian Kelly in year one. And that would just be an awful start in LSU after all the Edo stuff. So
I think honestly, if you're going to start seeing that fan base start turning on him if this team finishes 5, which I think, quite honestly, is a very high possibility that LSU 5 this year. Yeah. I kind of honestly think even Ole Miss will have a better record than LSU this year. So, which is a hot take, but they got no depth, man.
Ole Miss is so overrated, man.
I mean, they got no depth, and quite honestly, I trust Kiffin's been in the SEC far longer than Brian Kelly has, and he's able to do more with less. And we can't say that with Brian Kelly. So
I don't know, man. I just think Ole Miss is bound to fall on their face as well this year, but that's another topic for another show. I mean, I could go on and on about fucking Lane Kiffin. Like he could go on about fucking Jeremy Pruitt. I just don't like the guy. So
I low key kind of like I kind of like Kiffin. He wins.
You threw a golf ball at him.
I did not. I threw a Dos Equis beer can. Yeah, but I did not throw a golf ball at him. That was not me. So that is fake news. Was not the golf ball. Was not the mustard bottle. That was not me.
Is it Dos Equis?
I was able to throw that from road.
You heard it here fucking first.
Then I should be the next quarterback for the University of Tennessee. So,
yeah. At UT Campus Knox for this guy right here. He admitted to it live. All in all, 7 + 2 for a Friday. 9 days away, August 10th to the 19th. Live show, Skybox Bar and Grill.
Really have to do that? Like do that math?
What? Yeah. I had to think about it.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm used to being on a Wednesday, but we're not doing a show on Wednesday. We're doing it on Friday, so I had to add the 2.
You should have done that mentally. You should have. You didn't have to do that out loud. I'm glad you got the number right, but
I did it for the people. Skybox Bar and Grill, live show, full crew. Alex flying in from Miami, me coming from Nashville, you and Lo driving on the interstate. Gonna be fun.
I'll actually be walking. So
walking? You live that close?
Yeah.
No way. Drew's getting blacked out confirmed. Gotta be there. Skybox Bar and Grill, South Gay Street, 7 to 8:30. Obviously come in for the competitions. We're gonna be doing the all the bets on the live season, the full season, the punishments. Obviously the $70 costume contest if you want to compete in that, and then everything else. Come out and meet us, have fun, meet 2 Fall for Lives. Drew, any closing statements as we close this one off?
Get a little bit quick rundown with basketball. There's actually been
my god, I am selling the brand.
You're struggling today, buddy.
Well, here I am. I thought we're having a quick show. Drew wants to go 1 hour. Let's fucking do it.
We might as well. We're already at the 44-minute mark. So, okay. But yeah, some couple basketball news, a little Tennessee basketball information. Non-conference schedule came out, released yesterday. Vols are opening up the season against Tennessee Tech at Thompson-Boling Arena in November 5th. We've got a lot of really good games, with this out conference schedule. A couple neutral sites against Colorado and Nashville, which I think surprisingly is going to be a pretty good game. Brando, if you're not there, I'll be extremely
I'm going there because fucking Penny Hardaway, I'm not going to say that on a live broadcast show. No, Penny Hardaway, you sold me out of a Vols basketball first-time experience, and I promise you I will be there live in person for that Colorado game. I don't care if we're playing the Buffs, whatever they are, the Bull. I don't even know. I get Colorado and Colorado State mixed up. I don't know. But I'm going to be there, loud and proud.
I'm not going to lie. It's kind of a really weird game to have in Nashville like doesn't really make a lot of sense. But
yeah, I think it's giving back to the Nashville people for what that man did to us. So.
Well, I mean, I understand that, but they could have gotten a better opponent than Colorado. I mean, but
Yeah, did we
Colorado,
just beat them a year or two ago?
yeah,
Pause.
we beat them last season by like
Last
50.
year, yeah, early on. Okay, that's when
But,
Kennedy Chandler had his first 20-point game, if I'm correct. Yeah, okay.
But neutral site against Colorado should be, probably our first big challenge early in the season. I believe it's only second game of the season that we face them again, so it'd be a good, good little start for the team. Battle for Atlanta start off playing against Butler, which, it's not the same Butler that you and I both know 10 years ago under Brad Stevens, but still a respectable program. And then we'll either play the winner of BYU or USC. Both teams are, great programs. BYU's up around the corner. USC always has some weird. It's weird. USC always has decent basketball talent, but never does anything with it. So
yeah, it's weird.
Very, very
awesome.
Potentially could play Kansas, NC State, Wisconsin, or Dayton. All four of those teams are very good. I think we'll wind up being in the tournament as well. I would love for us to play Kansas, get a little, rub it in even more than we did a couple of years
ago. FBI in us.
Bowling. Oh yeah, rub it in on, get a little revenge for Admiral and Grant from a few years ago at Madison Square Garden. Maryland at Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Pretty sick one. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of digging the Terps play more games in New York City. I actually like that a lot. Very, very smart of Rick Barnes as far as a recruiting tactic goes. And another big one I think is easily I would honestly argue this is probably going to be our toughest road game of the year is at Arizona, which I exciting. I mean, that's going to be a top 15, top 10 opponent. Arizona's always a very respectable basketball program, one of the top 10 best in the country for sure. And then a huge one against the fake UT in January against Chris Beard or whatever that stupid is. Whatever. Rick Barnes going on a revenge tour is going to get them back. So I would love for them to bring back Chris Lofton for that game, considering his marquee, legendary moment he had over KD against Texas, holding 15 years ago. But overall, man, I think this is going to be a really, really fun basketball season. I know we're all focused on football. I am too. But, basketball is just around the corner as well, surprisingly. And bracketology even has a 2 seed. Granted, we haven't played a single game yet. However, when you think about it, with the talent that we have, anything below a 2 seed, in my opinion, would be
disrespectful.
Well, not disrespectful, it'd be a disappointment. So,
when you have the team leader Euros, the Slovakian god coming back, double king himself.
Go.
Like, I mean, that's probably the most. That's my biggest contributor going into next season, obviously. Then I guess you might see Julian Phillips and BJ Edwards involved, but not like Euros. There's just no shot.
I mean, the Mr. Serbian King himself, absolutely. I mean,
has bodies back in Serbia. Yeah, that guy.
He's back. He's in his full form now. Senior year, he's going to give his all. Don't be surprised in the slightest if that man's average is a double-double this year. Easily.
No, yeah.
Easily.
Obviously, yeah. You lost. Only lost Kenny Chandler. Got Vescovi kind of still playing around there. Still thinking he's going to come back. Triple J coming back. So obviously, the holes. There's no really holes on the team. Got Julian Phillips. Who can score from pretty much anywhere. Is going to be that guy next year. Like our leader, probably like the guy that has the ball in his hands whenever it comes down to it. Then you got BJ Edwards, the Catholic faithful that everyone's raving about in the Knoxville area. Obviously, going for the local kid. Was a top 15 point guard in the nation. Going to see if he can live up in the Kennedy Chandler shoes and kind of fill that void. Vescovi, him, and Zakai running the point. Even against the competition we're going to be playing, man, I think there's no reason that, going into the postseason that Tennessee probably isn't. There's no reason they shouldn't be a 2 or a 3 or a 4 seed. Like, shouldn't stay around in that range.
I genuinely believe, I really think this is probably. I mean, I feel like we're saying this every year because Rick Barnes does such a phenomenal job. But as far as the experience goes and talent wise, this is one of the top 2, top 3 teams that he's ever had as far as talent goes. And, and I think one name a lot of people are forgetting about is Tyreek Key, the transfer from Indiana State.
Thanks, I just did.
I know you did. That's why I said it. So I think this is a guy, honestly. This is a guy that could honestly wind up starting at point guard game 1 of the season. I really do believe it. He has that leadership role. He averaged over 16 points a game at Indiana State the last full season that he played, which was pre-COVID. And he's just an absolute unit on defense. And you could honestly wind up seeing something where you have Tyreek at 1 with Vescovi, Kai playing at 2, Vescovi at 3, and then Triple J and maybe Julian Phillips or the Mr. King himself, Uros Plavsic at 5. So this team is just loaded from top to bottom with talent. One of the biggest things I feared after Folke and a couple other guys leaving was if we're going to have any talent over there at the center position.
But Jonas Idu is the leader of the Vol faithful.
You have Jonas. You have, people will joke about this, but dude, Plavsic was good for us.
Oh, yeah. Facts.
Defensively, he's one of our better players. But you also have Kamwa and Julian Phillips. You got 4 guys there that.
But what about Tom?
I think Tom left, did he not?
Yeah, he's gone. That's what I meant. I was like, my poor Tom, but nah, like you say, man, like you're mentioning those names and you don't even think about the guys like Tamba that left, or might not mention Brandon Henley Hatfield that just left too. Like you look at that position down low of being down bad in the post early last year, and kind of wondering where it's going to go. Jonas Idu, Uros, Kamwa coming back from the injury. Like, I think we're going to be solid down there. The guard play is going to be, great. And then you mentioned Tyreek Key joining the team. Obviously, they get Yuri Collins, but that guard position filled so much talent there. Obviously, with the freshmen, Zakai, Vescovi, and then now Tyreek Key, which is probably like the most Rick Barnes player that could be playing defense, and then also the assist leader on offense, and also being able to score from deep 2, shoot the 3, buy into that. So I think going in, that's going to be really well for the team. Obviously, going back to the schedule, most excited about the Nashville game. Obviously, want to play Kansas. I always love that kind of matchup. Know we're going to beat Kentucky twice because we own the coal miners.
Facts.
And then when it comes down to it, Arizona and Texas obviously want to get revenge back on those teams and beat those teams. We smoked Arizona in TBA last year. Like, dismantled that team. We were down horrendous.
Yeah.
Dismantled that team. So
we did. But
I'm really worried about the fake UT, and I just want to go beat those burnt orange,
Oh, yeah. I think Texas is the biggest off-season or out-conference, game that we have of the season by a mile. Just because just how awful the game was last year, and then how close we were from, actually making a comeback and winning that one as well. But, Arizona's going to be really tough, but I love seeing Tennessee playing these type of teams, though, on the road. It's good to get good quality, Power 5, top 25 teams, playing them on the road. Great for the resume, great for preparation for the NCAA tournament. And this is, I think this is all what we really want to dream of. Playing the Arizonas, the Dukes, North Carolinas, the Kansases, and play them consistently. So it's going to be an exciting year of basketball. Hopefully they could turn the corner with recruiting. I know that JP Estrella, the 4-star center, has his commitment day on September 2nd. It's a tough road, tough battle between Tennessee, Syracuse, and Iowa. But everything that I've heard and seen, he really enjoyed his visit over here. I know he's just got back from Syracuse. I would be surprised if he doesn't choose Tennessee. However, if we don't wind up getting him because we lost out on Kalen Cord to Michigan State the other day, I think you could argue we could start hitting the panic button a little bit on the recruiting trail for basketball. But, we're still a good ways from there. This is probably going to be his at least for Tennessee basketball, this is the most important recruiting year for Tennessee because you are losing a lot of talent after this year with, Triple J, Vescovi, Plavsic, Kamwa. You got about 4, 5, 6, potentially even 7 scholarships right there.
It's pretty crazy, man.
It's insane. And obviously you're going to fill a couple of those guys in the portal, but they got to start off strong. We already messed up Justin Edwards, which was probably the hardest, that Rick Barnes has ever recruit. Literally every single weekend going up there in fucking Baltimore, trying to convince the kid. And Sleazy Calipari and his, mob hair managed to pull him away. So, it's fine. I'm still, obviously bitter about it. But as long as we get JP Estrella next Friday after we beat the shit out of Ball State at home, get 2 W's in the span of 2 days for Tennessee athletics, I think we'll be good.
Yeah, obviously to touch on the whole the people we're playing, the talent we're playing, and our schedule to get that number 2 seed you were talking about. Obviously, you got to have the wins over top talent. So that and all, you win those games, that'll fix itself. But going on to the recruiting part, obviously, if you don't land some guys, it's going to be something to worry about with all the guys going out. But you got to remember Rick Barnes last year, just, a couple months ago, put his feet in the ground, huge energy, allowing, people to write the checkbook for Julian Phillips, getting that huge recruit late against Auburn when they wanted him super, super bad, stealing him from Auburn and an $800,000 G League contract. So that tells me that Tennessee, if they want somebody and they're heavily recruiting, like they're going to go out there and spend the money, and they're going to take some losses, maybe trying to do it the right way. But I think when it gets closer and closer and closer, Tennessee, obviously, like it says, going into college, it's not over until signing day. And then signing that contract, in basketball, and, NIL on the table, Tennessee can do, crazy things with Rick Barnes. Only a few years, probably more in its tank, man. This guy obviously stayed from last year, that run last year, stayed this year, landed Julian Phillips. He wants to win. He wants to go out and solidify his career, his legacy. And I think he wants like an Elite Eight or a Final Four finish to, be comfortable with doing that. And to do that, you have to go out there and you have to, go get talent. And whatever it takes to get that talent in this day and age where it's legal now, you got to go do it. So all in all, excited about basketball. It's crazy to talk about with football 3 weeks away, 2 weeks away, but basketball is 3 months away. We have 3 huge programs now, basketball, baseball, and football, that are all thriving, that we talk about every single week. But to have the news filled up, like it's like not every week where like we like don't have to like cancel a show from not having information. Like it's fully packed. And, even though it's quiet over there, like the team's still working, getting workouts in now as football approaches. So super excited about that. And hopefully we can land that kid over Iowa here soon. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always, especially good for like the off season when you're one of the top 10, top 15 best teams in the country for basketball and baseball. So football around the corner, really exciting stuff. Basketball only 3 months away. I know we're not a basketball school, even though we try to tell ourselves that. We low-key kind of are. But football around the corner, though. Good news towards basketball. Hopefully get some commitments finally. And then hopefully Josh Heupel and the boys can continue on the recruiting trail, snagging these four-star DBs. So I'm excited. Skybox next Friday. You didn't hear it the first time or the second time or the third time, for that matter. Skybox Bar next Friday. Troy Fleming, Jabari Davis, the entire ATB crew as well. Live kickoff show. Going to go game-by-game analysis, wins, losses prediction, announce the loser's punishment on top of that, and as well questions and, fan Q&A as well. So it's going to be a hell of a time.
Yeah, I mean, like what Drew said, obviously the live show next week, you can come meet us in person, watch us do what we're doing right now, but in a crazy Knoxville bar, drink beer with us, maybe other beverages with us as well, get crazy Vol for life like, and then also ask us questions pretty much for free as long as you pay your tab on the way out. I mean, that's pretty much all you got to do. Obviously, we're over there doing the show, so obviously the perks are going to be nice. But like Drew said, obviously the punishments are going to be crazy. Like the list we have together, it's stupid. Like that list is so stupid, but I think we're actually going to do it, which is going to be even more stupid. And then obviously you come in dressed best, whatever old jersey you have, crazy costume you have. Maybe when you were like 5 years old as a Vol for life or for Halloween, whatever you got. I know y'all people are crazy to listen to the show, so come out, come dress, get hype. It's going to be fun, packed on a Friday night. 22nd birthday for me, and a full first meeting. Skybox Bar and Grill, South Gay Street. Definitely pull up. Drew, next week, I'm going to be meeting you in person, my brother. Crazy events.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a great show. I got my, folks coming in, flying in from Prague for
it. It's going to be packed like Neyland Stadium in here.
It's going to be tight. I want you people to get in your checkerboard overalls, wear your all orange suits. I don't care. I want it to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and I'm here for it. So
yeah. I know on the past of the show, we didn't promote violence on Jeff Massius in the baseball season. We have full clearance from the Skybox owner bar and grill approval to do all this and to announce all this. So definitely come out and get mad, get angry. They want to see y'all show up. They want to see y'all get hyped for the football season and definitely see y'all get rowdy. Can't think of a better way to kick off the season. Gonna be hype. 9 days away. So super excited to see y'all. Super excited to be there. Don't be afraid to show out. And Drew, I guess this is now appropriate to ask you any closing statements.
No, I mean, I guess the only statements I got is that, 22 days till football season, 9 days till live kickoff show at Skybox Bar and Grill. Basketball on the rise, only 3 months away. Hopefully, finally, cutting some breaks on the recruiting trail. And Brando, it's going to be a fun football season, man. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, me and you having to carry the brand, Alex and Lo being away for respective reasons, Lo carrying the sponsorships, Alex trying to be a doctor, like I said. Always a pleasure to hop on here. Me and you, Drew, the dynamic duo, excited for football season. I know me and you going to be there loud and proud 2 weeks later at Ball State after Skybox. So excited for that. Super excited. Great show. Excited for the live show in a week or 2 or 9 days. I keep fucking it up. 10 days, 9 days, whatever. So super excited for that. Huge news on the recruiting trail, football around, and 20 days and counting. So huge, great show. And I guess that's going to do it for us. Me, yes, Drew, appreciate y'all for joining us, and have a good one. Go Vols.
Absolutely. Go Vols.